The ways in which mediated spaces help people communicate and send or receive information can be traced back to information networks as described in Stephen Johnson's Future Perfect. In the 1950s, a Polish engineer named Paul Baran created a new version of how to distribute information in a more effective way. Rather than have a network that was centralized, information coming from one powerful source to lesser receptors, or even a decentralized network, where multiple points of power sends information to receptors. He came out with a distributed system in which information is shared between sources and receptors of equal hierarchy and ability. This allowed for all points of a distributed network to be able to send and receive information to each other, creating a more balanced and effective sharing of information. A key example of this method from the text is ARPANET. It was a research group who initially set the groundwork for what would become the Internet through a peer-to-peer network rather than a client-to-server network. By ignoring the traditional computer networks of centralized mainframes that had more power and storage compared to smaller terminals, ARPANET created a network of peers, computers with equal power and without superiority over each other, which created a distributed information system that would become the web. This advancement in the Internet was followed by TCP/IP protocols, the common language of the Internet. Created by Vint Cerf and Bob Kahn, these rules of the web allowed for other computer networks to use their own proprietary languages, which would later be encoded into TCP, being able to send information across all existing networks. Even more impressive was their vision for the future. Cerf and Kahn also allowed for new networking protocols to be developed or written on top of TCP/IP, so future designs for communication on the Internet would not have to start from the ground up. Two of the most used tools of the Internet, email and web browsing, relied heavily on the stacking of protocols to exchange data on top of TCP. The strongest example of a mediated space and a distributed network is still the Internet. In physical and cyberspace, the Internet is the most used network for sharing information, communication, commercialization, commerce, and so on. Though without the creation of a distributed network and innovations built on the system, like ARPANET and TCP, the Internet would look very different than what we have now, and probably not as successful as it's become through this equal sharing of information.